Welcome to episode 39 of the Camerosity Podcast, the world's #1 open source film photography podcast. My name is Mike Eckman, and this is our 23rd and final episode of 2022. What a fast year this has been. We've had some awesome guests and callers this year, and I can't wait to see what 2023 brings us. Before we get to that, though, it's time for introductions. From Sydney, Australia, where Skippy peanut butter is an imported delicacy, is Mr. Theo Panagopoulos. If not peanut butter, what do you guys put on toast down there?
Well, we use peanut butter, but we just don't have Skippy peanut butter, which is quite a funny thing to happen. But yes, I was very surprised to see that in the store the other day as an imported product from the US.
We're only sending you our best. Absolutely.
Next, from Yellow Springs, Ohio, a man who will never eat Jif peanut butter is Mr. Paul Rival. What is your favorite kind of peanut butter, Paul?
I'm a Skippy man. Always have been. Though I did dally with Peter Pan once, but we agreed we would never speak of that again.
And finally, from Gainesville, Florida, a man who has been waiting 39 episodes for us to finally do some trivia is Mr. Anthony Rue. How excited are you for the first ever Camerosity Trivia Challenge?
It is just like, a night at the pub with all your friends, answering stupid questions and getting drunk.
And speaking of which, this is the one episode where we need Miles Liebeck to be here, and he's not here.
I know.
All right, before we get started, I just wanted to comment on another podcast. We were put to the challenge by Mike Gutterman and the guys in the Negative Positives podcast. They just recorded episode 399. And near the end, they are challenging us as the nerdiest film photography podcast, a title I thought we had already won handily. But they're trying to suggest that maybe the biggest competitor to the nerdy title is Classic Camera Revival Podcast. That's Alex Luke's show and Bill Smith. So apparently they're taking suggestions or emails on who they think is nerdiest. And I got to say, I think it's us. No disrespect to Alex and the boys, because they have a great show too. But nobody has the knowledge of King Regulas and extras and all the nonsense that
Miranda's.
we have. So, Miranda's, yeah. So for anybody listening, I don't know when this episode will actually air or when they'll stop accepting nominations, but we definitely want to get that title of the nerdiest film photography podcast. So
what other podcast will do an hour of just spontaneous discussion about 127 film?
That's right, especially when we're supposed to be talking about Pentax.
We're not suggesting that you spam them, but yeah, spam them with suggestions of where the nerdiest.
Yeah, why not? Go for it. Let our voices be heard. Real quick, though, speaking of Pentax, in the previous podcast, a question that came up was whether or not Asahi had ever made a rangefinder. And though they never have, a reader of my site pointed out that there is actually a Leica thread mount Pentax lens that was made for a short period of time. It's one of the shorter focal lengths. I believe it was a 40 millimeter branded Pentax. So I don't know the date of it. I've never actually seen one before, but apparently it's super rare. I think it's got the SMC coating, but if anybody here listening has ever seen or used one of the Pentax rangefinder lenses, I guess that would be the closest they've ever come to making a rangefinder.
Yeah, it was in the 2000s.
You're aware of it then?
Oh yeah, our friend Von Cabbage has one.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, they didn't make a lot of them. I think I can't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere around 200 or 300.
Okay, all right. So yeah, super rare.
Yeah,
they're not cheap. The one or two that I saw for sale, but if anybody is looking for the closest thing to a Pentax rangefinder, perhaps the Pentax Leica thread mount lens on a Canon. Maybe that's the closest you'll ever come to it. So we had I made a post on my website. A couple other bloggers, Theo, you participated in this too. We all kind of wanted to get together and come up with a short list of like the 3 cameras that stood out to us in 2022. For people who run blogs such as myself, it could be a camera we reviewed or a camera we're planning on reviewing. So different sites, Ali did it, Eric, Jason, Stephen Dowling, I think it's going to still put one out, but there are a few people that took part in it. But I thought, we maybe, what do you guys like, have a favorite 3 or 3 cameras that stood out to you? Sure. in this year?
Well, for my 3, the first was a camera that, I never really thought that I'd like, because when the Olympus XA first came out, I burned through several of them brand new, and they all failed on me at various times. And so from a reliability standpoint, I just kind of had given up on them. But hearing Jeff Greenstein from I Dream of Cameras talking about his XA4 earlier in the year, I came across one that was not outrageously expensive. And I'll be damned if that isn't the little carry camera that I took with me on 2 different vacations, and is just as the pocket camera that I just love to just load up and forget about and shoot. I probably put more film through that XA4 than any other camera this year. And then the 2 others that surprised me.
Real quick, refresh everybody's memories. Like, what's special about the XA4?
So the XA4 is the one that came with the wide angle lens. So I don't remember the exact. Is it like a 32? It's like it's a pretty wide lens.
28, I believe.
28. Yeah, that sounds right. So it's got like a very wide hyperfocal focusing range, and so you can kind of just set it at like 9 feet, and everything's in focus. And it's super simple and it works, and it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome.
The second camera would be one that I didn't go out looking for. It was actually a Topcon RE Super. I already had a Bessler branded Super D with the 1.8 lens. I actually bought this sort of as a rear lens cap on a 58-1.4 that I'd been lusting after. I actually like, for some reason, I mean, they're ostensibly the same camera, but that RE Super is just like silk. I mean, that camera is such a pleasure to shoot, and that lens is probably my favorite SLR lens that I have. So that camera, that's just the one that I always keep loaded. It's the camera that, I'll blow through a lot of film and a lot of different cameras and then like cycle through various cameras. But the RE Super has been the one camera that when I want an SLR, that's the one that I'm reaching for. And then the last camera is one that I came across fairly recently. It's a camera that I'd lusted after for years, and that's the 1939 Bessa rangefinder, which is, I'm lucky enough that for that one I actually have the 645 insert.
Was that a Bernard camera?
It is a Bernard camera, and it's
awesome.
like brand new. It's the camera itself is like brand new. It's just it's got the scope R lens, which is fine. It's 6x9. It just looks stunning. Plus, you have the added advantage of being able to drop the mask in and shoot it at 645 with a very accurate rangefinder with a fairly wide baseline spacing, and it's super light. For a camera of that size. I mean, I've been shooting the heck out of my Super Icontas, but that Bessa rangefinder is just easier to carry and faster than the Super Iconta. It's just really intuitive for me to use for a big 6x9 camera. It's been a real joy.
Awesome. Mark, what do you have a 3 from this year? I know this has been kind of a weird year for you, but there has to be at least 3 that you've enjoyed.
Yeah, certainly. One of them is one that I reviewed late last year, but I just keep coming back to it because I love the design, which is the Corfield Paraflex. And
nice.
It's just such a neatly designed camera, but I'm still struggling to get the composition correct using that minuscule viewfinder through the periscope. For something that just surprised me as far as the imagery would be the Fujika Compact Deluxe. I found that to be a really nice camera to use. I mean, it's not the best feeling in the hand, but the results are just, I think, I love really contrasty images, and I feel like the lens on that one, I think it's like it's 1.8, I believe, 45 millimeter. The images look spectacular on that. And just from something that I hadn't ever tried before, I got it was just a Nikon F2 and started playing with that. And I can sort of see the appeal of the behemoth of a camera that it is.
All right. David Ortega's here. How about you tell us anything that you've picked up this year, played with it, that's stuck with you?
I actually have it right here. I think Theo might like it. It's a little Canon SD20.
Is that a Digicam?
Yes.
Well, that's nice.
I didn't mean to start off with the Digicam, but I mean that I picked up this year that I'm actually using. It's this one.
Everybody drink.
It's tiny. That's why I like it. And it's funny enough, it still had the SD card in it. And I think it was Jason Lee, the actor, actor / photographer from My Name Is Earl. Like, there's pictures of him like that was taken with this camera from like the SD card, which is kind of crazy.
Oh wow!
Wow,
yeah,
that's neat.
And then the other thing I haven't really gotten to shoot because it doesn't work. The black Nikon SP I found as like a barn find.
Oh, okay, yeah, the really worn one. Yes.
Yeah, it's heavily worn, but like the way I got this one was kind of crazy because like it was literally listed as like Nikon camera for parts on eBay. So I just kind of like took a risk on it. But right now I'm like in the middle of trying to figure out where I want to send it to because I posted it on Reddit and JCH actually messaged me and told me to send it to them, to his Nikon engineer. And then there was another company up in Oregon that they were recommending to send it over there, because the issue that it has is the viewfinder. There's like the center third of it, you can't see through it because of mirror separation, I'm guessing, or the desilvering or something.
It's desilvering. There's a prism in there.
Yeah.
That's the biggest knock of that camera, is that that's very common. I've spoken many times about the SP. I do love them. But of all the ones I've handled, I'd say 3/4 of them either have a completely hazed over or inoperable primary viewfinder. Usually the secondary one is okay.
Yeah.
But if you can find an SP with a good viewfinder, the main rangefinder window that's not fully or partially blacked out, they could be worth quite a bit. But sadly, the only way to fix that, at least unless you know how to re-glue prisms, which maybe there's somebody who knows how to do that, usually you just swap from a parts camera, but usually the parts cameras are the barn finds like what you have. So
yeah. And the one person in Oregon told me that they could attempt to redo the prism, because they were like, some people don't want to do it just because it's a lot of work, but that they would take the risk. And then I might send it over to Japan, and then they'll tell me within like a couple weeks if it's like, hey, it's like it's a repairable or it's not, and then from there they'll take care of it. Because I do have a working SP, but I don't want to parts that one out just to get this one going.
Yeah.
So yeah.
My best advice to you is make the decision now how much you're willing to spend on that, because to start sending it out and get it fixed, if you ever think you're going to flip it, it's going to be hard to reclaim some of that out of it. But I don't remember if you said what you have into it. But I mean, if it's something you want to use and you like the look of a well-worn black, which I mean, I do too, but I would make a decision up front with what your maximum dollar is on it, because it's going to escalate quickly.
Yeah, I kind of figured that.
Okay.
So that's what I'm thinking about, because I paid $500 for it through eBay, so it's like,
yeah, I think at this point you could probably get your money back out of it, maybe, because I mean blacks are desirable, they are rare. If it was in its exact condition but it had a good viewfinder, that's, I'd say, easily $1,000. But I think anybody looking for an SP is well aware of the viewfinder problems that they could have, because the shutter's not that hard to replace. They basically copied the Leica shutter. So within reason, most anybody who can service a Leica shutter should be able to do a Nikon shutter. So, but I mean, wish you good luck, man. That's a cool camera to have. I mean, even I don't have an SP, and to have a black one is really neat. So awesome. Yeah. Aiden, welcome back to the show. I know you usually have what you do, estate sales, garage sales. You have anything you found recently or anything that stuck out to you since you got off the island?
Let's see. I got 4 of these Graflex XLs.
Did you say 4 of them?
Yeah, for $120. So, and then just the cameras that I've been shooting is the XA and the M6. Nothing crazy.
Okay, so XA, Anthony had the XA4. So a lot of Olympus love. I have my within arm's reach. I have my XA2 right here. I generally prefer the 2 over the 1. While it's neat having the rangefinder, I'd rather do the zone focus on this one. I'm not trying to get bokeh shots out of it or anything, but these are really nice. I mean, this is a camera that's hyped that I do see the appeal in. I mean, the way they just fit in your hand, the body is still mostly metal. I mean, there is some plastic on it, but like the back door is metal. You get one that's in nice shape. I mean, a lot of times these type of cameras, the clamshell ones, I found that a lot of the cheaper versions, they feel gritty, but most of the Olympuses that I have still seem to be pretty snappy opening and closing. And I mean, they make great pictures, so there's no denying that.
Have you ever taken the door off your XA?
No.
It's real easy to get off. You just take a very thin screwdriver.
Okay.
It just pries right off. Well, there's a ball bearing in there.
Okay.
So you want to do it in a place where you can absolutely not lose that ball.
Lose the ball. Okay, that's a good tip.
But if you do that, you can clean it. It really smooths it out. If you get one.
Okay. That is gritty.
Yeah,
I've been pretty lucky. I have 2 X2s. I do have an XA here somewhere, and I did come across once an XA1, which is like the really scaled down cheap model, but that one didn't work at all. So I've had pretty good luck with these. And again, I do really like them. I prefer the XA2. This is, for me, a less is more kind of camera.
I've got the XA3 in red because
that's nice.
Yeah, red cameras go faster, and it actually does, because it actually takes film up to 1600.
That's cool.
ISO 1600. So that's the difference, but the main difference between it and the XA2. And I absolutely love this camera. It is fantastic. Fits in the pocket,
they are nice.
Just works and just seems to get it right every single time, just about.
Yeah. All right, we had a new caller. Do you want to introduce yourself? Looks like we got someone in the car.
Hi. Yeah, it's my name, Atabak. I am from Iran. I live in California for a few years.
Awesome. Well, welcome to the show. Have you listened to other episodes?
Yeah, I'm listening from the first episode.
All right. Another long hauler. Well, welcome to the show. I've ever had a caller from Iran. I don't even know if I had anybody from California before. It seems for some reason we are not attracting people from the West Coast all that often.
Yeah, I don't remember anyone from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the show and couldn't get to the other episode I tried, but I'm driving back home. I just saw the notification that you are recording, so jump in.
All right.
And just for a correction, we did have Vanya on from California.
Oh, she's from California? Okay.
Yep. She's a diver.
Andre.
And there's David. Yep.
Are you from California?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. I didn't even know. All right. Sorry about that.
Today is California Day.
I never thought to ask. It just seems like everybody's either like East Coast or Johannesburg, South Africa or something. All right.
We did have Andre on, and
Dominguez?
He's supporting us Dominguez, but he's supporting us as being the nerdiest podcast, so we have to mention him.
He's competition, right?
Yeah.
No, he believes we are the nerdiest. It's Mike Gutterman.
Okay. Okay. So Mike's the problem then. I was thinking, they're about to do their 400th episode, and I know their earlier episodes were pretty short, but I was thinking the rate at which we're doing our shows here, I calculated it would take us 15 years for us to reach the 400th Camerosity episode. So for any of us that are still going to be alive in 2037, if anybody goes back 400 episodes and hears this now, you have to let us know that we made it, because I just don't think we're going to make it to 400 episodes. All right. So we have myself. So we have 8 people. Atabak's in a car. So I don't know if I want to.
I want to hear about Paul's cameras. That's
Paul's right. Picks. Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm a little. I've got weird choices, because I picked the cameras that I've enjoyed using the most this year was one rangefinder camera and 2 viewfinder cameras. The rangefinder was the Nikon S2. The viewfinder cameras was the Fuji G617 and the Plaubel 69W. The S2, of course, you know what that is. With the G617 is the Fuji made camera that makes a 2.25 by 170 millimeter, little over 6 inches negative. So you get 4 shots to a roll of 120, and the has a 105 millimeter lens, which is a wide field lens for that format. And the 69W is a 6 by 9 centimeter camera with a 47 millimeter lens on it. So you get 8 shots on that one. That's also the Pro Shift. So it does, you can shift the lens, which I haven't done yet, because I really was hand holding it rather than using it on a tripod. But it's an incredibly sharp lens on the camera. So those are the 3 that I've enjoyed the most this year.
Just go ahead and taunt us with that Plaubel, a camera that most of us will never get a chance to hold, let alone use.
Well, I had a guy earlier today ask me if I would trade him for a Fuji 693 and some cash. Ooh. And I said, no, I'm not really even sure I want to sell the Plaubel. So
yeah, I think you should hold on to it.
Yeah, I probably will. Right now on the personal shelf, I've got a Hasselblad 501 and the Plaubel that I'm just actively not trying to sell.
Which Plaubel was that one that you have? Was it the chrome one or the black one?
This is the 69. They were all black. It's a new camera. It's not the old Plaubels.
Oh, okay.
David, if
things
you've
are
not
huge.
seen it, it looks like the modern, the one that you've seen before, but it has like film extensions that stick out on both sides, kind of like grips on both sides. And then as the front of the as you extend the lens, it has a standard where it can both tilt and shift. But what's really cool is that as you tilt it and shift it, the external viewfinder is like on a platen that also tilts and shifts to match the view of what you're doing with the lens.
Oh, that's crazy. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think I've seen because I know I've seen like a bellows one. I'm not sure if that's the same one, but I saw like a video where like someone was holding it in their hand, and it just looks so like it's so big compared to like a small little camera.
Well, I think that Paul's running out to pick it up right now.
Okay.
Theo's going to pick his up. We'll be posting photos of it onto the Camerosity Instagram page.
I think, David, is this the one you were thinking about?
Well, because I know that there's two of them. I know that there's that version and there's the more modern version.
Yeah.
That
isn't that a
one's
beast?
different than what I thought.
Yeah, that's quite different.
This one it has the back looks like a Mamiya Universal or Super 23 rollback, but it isn't. In fact, maybe it is. It probably is a Mamiya rollback, but it doesn't come off and it doesn't have a dark slide, so it's permanently attached. But yeah, the viewfinder on the top is parallax corrected, so as you shift it and move it, it'll move up and down and sideways to correct for the view.
And as you shift, it automatically like adjusts itself as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah,
it is super cool.
Then there's one lever here on the front that you loosen that, and that lets you go side to side. And you can't probably see it, but the viewfinder is moving when I do that.
That is nice. That is very nice. Okay, I'll throw in my three. You can actually see them on Photo Thinking, but I managed to fill out my set full of Mamiya 7 this year, so with the extra lenses and pieces and so on. So that's something I've gotten quite excited to be using this year ongoing. And I've started using the Voigtland Superb a little bit more as well. And Anthony, I've got news for you. I believe the other one is almost ready, either the last week of this year or it'll be the first week. Jess was mentioning the first week of the new year will be ready to go.
Oh, I am so excited. That's like something to look forward to for next year.
Yes, that is a lot of fun. My one's quite dim. But I don't mind that for the moment. I may swap out the screen at some point though, because I am actually enjoying it so much. This thing is so over-engineered. It's not funny though. It's but it just works. It's just a pleasure to use.
I've got so many United frequent flyer miles because I use that for my corporate card, and I haven't flown anywhere in 3 years because of the pandemic. Maybe I can just fly down to pick it up. It'd be cheaper than shipping it from Australia.
Yeah, we can do that. And it is summer now. It is summer down here. So which is quite contradictory considering I'm wearing a Christmas beanie at the moment. I think by the end of the show I might be passing out from the heat. But my third pick was the Nikon Coolpix 995. If anyone knows what they are the twisty cameras from 2001. Fantastic. You can do selfies with them. Important. And it's a massive 3.34 megapixels. If you think back in those days, it was important to have that 0.34 listed as well. But they are really great in terms of the lens quality. I'm really surprised actually, especially when you start getting down the macro pictures. So we've had a couple of digicams sort of sneak in today.
Everybody take a shot.
I was going to say that I have the one of the Nikon Coolpix 950s, which is also sort of the twisty one, and I've really enjoyed using that. It's a surprisingly fun camera to use. That one's 2.1 megapixel, I believe.
It's actually interesting that they went down that design route and it never really sort of continued on, because I think the actual design has merit. It does actually work.
Although it almost seems like it was more of like an afterthought. It would have been more useful as a video camera instead of a still camera in some regards.
That is true.
Yeah, but in general, they are fun to, especially the macro is surprisingly good on it.
When they discontinued that camera, there was a period of about 3 years that they were extremely popular on the used market because people found they could use them for astronomy. They hooked up to a telescope eyepiece very easily. So it was a niche market for them, but they were really popular for that. And then also they were, for some lab use, they were easy to hook in for the same reason. They were easy to attach to a microscope.
I did not know that. That's cool.
Didn't know that about astronomy. I might actually look that up. Might have to give it a go.
Same.
Hey Theo, I was gonna ask you more digicam related. I know with the Nikon and this one, it's like an SD card, compact flash. With the more older ones, like I know that there was like some that had like the flash and the floppy disk, and then other ones had the smart media. Do you have something to read those, or like how do you handle those?
I do have a floppy disk one. I've got a Mavic Sony FD07, and I actually ordered a USB floppy disk drive from online, so I can do that. With the special one, I think Anthony's holding something up there, which is the micro drive. I think that you can still get readers. I'm not sure about that. Mark, have you come across those?
Yeah, I've got a reader that does a lot of the ones like the super thin. What are those
The
called?
smart medias.
Smart media ones. It does.
Mhm.
I've got the memory stick ones are fairly easy to find. I think I found one that had a couple different varieties. I've got probably like 3 readers because I can't find one that has all of the obscure formats built into it. But if you just do a search either on Amazon or on eBay for those, you should be able to find USB readers that will read most anything that you want to be able to pull in.
Look for they call them a 7-in-1. So if you look for a
Okay.
7-in-1 reader, that's going to cover everything up to the CF Express.
Yeah, it's like these ones.
The micro drive was an IBM 1 gig micro drive for my Nikon D100.
Yeah, micro drives are the same size as a compact flash card.
And at some place I actually have 2 or 3 different adapters for it. I just have to find them. Not
Okay.
not something I've used in 15
my
years.
God. Yeah.
Because I'm stuck with the modern computers. It's like the only thing I have is like a USB-C to like the oldest I can go to is compact flash. So it's like I have this like huge like bulbous like Toshiba like 3-point-something megapixel one that my dad found, and I'm like trying to see if I can use the smart media card, and like even the LCD on the back is all like busted up. The front lens cap is all messed up.
If you look at this reader here, it's a bit hard to see. It's a QPix, all in one kit, and it's an old USB 2 one, but it does have the smart media connection there. So if you look at, like Mark said, the 7-in-1s and 8-in-1s, and they're probably up to 30-in-1 these days. But find those, you'll find that they do support some of the older formats.
Okay, I pulled it up.
I stepped away, but were we talking about old digicams?
Yeah.
So did Paul? Did you tell him what you sent me?
No.
So Paul graciously
this is cool.
loaned me. It's called the Nikon E2NS. It was also co-branded Fujix. So by Fuji, it's like a half Fuji, half Nikon. It's a DSLR. I will have pictures of this, but if you guys look at how thick this thing is from front to back, the lens is like tiny compared to this monstrous of a body. I mean, you look at the top of that. The reason for this thing being so huge, there's multiple reasons. It's just an old digicam, but adding to that is it accepts any autofocus or manual focus Nikkor lenses, f-mount, but it doesn't have a full frame sensor, yet it will still capture. So if I have a 50mm f1.8 autofocus lens on here, it'll capture in that correct focal length. And it's because it uses reducing lenses, like literally inside the body, behind the shutter, but in front of the sensor are lenses that actually reduce the image down to whatever size sensor this thing has in it. So it's like a lens inside the body, and that has the side effect of always stopping down everything to at least f6.7. So you're not going to get too much bokeh from this camera with the fast lens on it, but it's a behemoth. It's super heavy. The one Paul had did have a battery, but the battery was dead, but thankfully he had an AC adapter. So I have an AC adapter plugged into this, and I've been able to get some test shots for it. So I'm pretty geeked out, even though it's a really basic DSLR, but I want to do a review of this someday.
It's good to see the digicam fever is spreading.
Yeah. All right. So we had Andrew Smith joined us just a few minutes ago. Welcome back, Andrew.
How you doing?
I think we have enough people here now to get started on some trivia.
How hard is this going to be?
I create all the questions. I think they range from fairly easy to moderately difficult. I did not pick any really obscure questions that I don't think anybody's going to know the answer to. The only hints I can give you is that everything that is in here has been covered on this show at least one point in time. So Atabak said he recently has been going through all the episodes, so he may actually have a leg up, because I'll be honest, once I'm done with an episode, I don't know to go back and listen to the previous one. So all right, so we're going to get started with our trivia. We have some questions that I came up with. We are using a service called Mentimeter. We have 8 players. I'm not participating since I'm the one who came up with the questions, but Paul, Theo, and Anthony absolutely do not know what the questions are. They have no unfair advantage. They have not received a preview. So our listeners, who are Mark Faulker, David Ortega, Atabak, Aiden Dean, and Andrew Smith, are going to be challenging the 3 hosts of the show. How this will work is, for the people who are participating live, you will be able to see the questions on your screen. When a question pops up, you will have 4 to 5 seconds to read the question. After that delay, you will get multiple choice answers. All you got to do is pick on. If you get the question right, the faster at which you click on it, the more points you get. So like, let's say you leave it on your screen for 4 to 5 seconds and then you get it right. You'll still get points. You just won't get as many points as if you clicked fastest. So accuracy and speed will help you. And then after each question, we'll see the leaderboard. For those of you listening at home, I will read the questions and try and prompt some answers. And then maybe if anybody has any questions or it leads to a discussion afterwards, we'll talk about it. So enough talking from me. Let's get going with the first question here. In order to advance a roll of 35 millimeter film the correct distance to make a 24 by 36 exposure, the film must advance by this many perforations. The choices are 6, 7, 8, or 9. All right. So 4 people correctly guessed 8. Let's see who they are. David Ortega, Anthony, Mark, and Atabak got it correctly. So David O was the first person to answer correctly, so he's in the lead with 970 points. Does everybody understand how it works?
But it's not in Australian English. I've got a disadvantage here.
That's true. I did not use Australian English, so you're going to have to do Google Translate first. All right, let's move on to the next question. There's 25 of these. Anytime anybody can catch up. The questions do get harder. All right, we're on question number 2. Remember, there's a delay you get to read. This was Canon's original name when they first started making cameras. The options are Canon, Seiki Kogaku, Chiyoda Kogaku, or Asahi Seiki. So the real debate would be, were they always Canon, or do they have one of these other names? Time's up. 3 people correctly got Seiki Kogaku. 4 people chose Chiyoda Kogaku, which was Minolta. So good guess on a name of an earlier Japanese company that later changed, but wrong one. So 3 people got it right. Let's see what the leaderboard is. Theo got that one right. David Ortega again, and Atabak.
Woohoo!
All right, Theo's on the board. So David O has gotten both right. So he's in the lead with 1,817 points. Let's go to number 3. The Tessar formula was designed by this man. The options are Dr. Hans Harding, Paul Rudolph, Dr. Ludwig Bertel, or John Henry Dahlmeier. A hint is all 4 of those made a lens of some kind. The correct answer is Paul Rudolph.
Oh.
Hans Harding designed the Heliar. Ludwig Bertel, I think, did the sonar. I can't remember which one he did. But John Henry Dahlmeier did the rapid rectilinear and the Dahlmeier lenses. So Paul Rudolph is the correct answer for the Tessar. He also did the sonar and I think 1 or 2 others. So that was a tough one. Let's see who got it right. Chef Boyardeen. All right, Aiden on the board, 690 points. Question 4. A Rockor, so we're talking Minolta, PG lens is made up of this many elements: 7, 6, 5, or 4. Minolta was similar to Olympus and Nikkor lenses that indicate the lens elements in its title. The correct answer is 7. So Rakor PG, the G is the number of elements. G is the 7th letter of the alphabet. So therefore 7 elements. 2 people got that one right. And let's see who they are. Anthony and David Ortega again. So Anthony narrowly edged out David with slightly more points, but David's still in the lead. Question 5. Which of the following is not the name of a type of Leica copy? The questions are Reed, Cardin, Melcon, or Riken. I've reviewed at least 2 of these on my website. The correct answer is Riken. Riken was the name before Ricoh. In my article about Japanese Leica copies, I talk about the Melcon. The Melcon 1 looks like a typical screw mount Leica, but the Melcon 2 looks very similar to a Nikon rangefinder, but with a screw mount. Anthony's the only one who got it right. Still wasn't enough to catch up to David Ortega, but he is neck and neck by only 39 points difference. Question 6. The Canon 50mm f/0.95 Dream lens was first released to be used on this Canon camera. The choices are the Canon VT Deluxe, the Canon P, Canon 7, or the Canon Flex. Which one of those 4 was that lens designed to be used on? The correct answer is the Canon 7. Does anybody want to comment what's unique about the Canon 7 compared to the others? The lens mount?
Had a different bayonet.
Right. It has the normal Leica thread mount, the M39 screw mount, but around it is a secondary bayonet, similar to the Nikon and Contaxes that have both an internal and an external mount. So the Dream lens was designed to wrap around that external bayonet. People have since modified them to be used on other cameras too. I believe there's even people who have used them on the SLRs, but it was originally released with the Canon 7. So for those of you who have a Canon 7, take a look at the lens mount. You'll actually see an external bayonet. It's for that one lens. They never made another lens, to my knowledge, that used it. So 5 people got that one right. Let's see who was fastest, though. David, Anthony, and Andrew all guessed really quickly. David is still on the lead, though. Man, Anthony's right on his tail, though. Good thing he got in there. Andrew's on the board with 929 points. Good job, Andrew.
Finally on the board. Yeah.
Hey, that's fine. Hey, gotta catch up.
I think Paul's walked off in disgust.
On the Camerosity Podcast, this is the only host to appear in every single episode. Is it Anthony, Mike, Paul, or Theo? Who has been on every single episode, even the first 2 Cocaine and Waffles episodes?
Could be Theo, but
it is Theo. Theo, didn't you get it right? How did you not get yourself right?
I knew that, but I mistakenly pushed Mike. Yeah, I remember he had also a robot episode that he was himself.
I was not.
Yes, I forgot about that one.
31. Yeah, I did not appear in that episode. Only Theo and Robot Theo.
Oh, you counted that as an episode?
Well, it's got a number.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
Well, so I wasn't on that one. Anthony's missed, like 2, maybe 3. Paul was not on until episode 4, I think, is the first appearance of Paul. But he's been on everyone since then, except 31.
I can't believe I missed that. I lost that one.
So nobody got that one right.
To be fair, that episode, a lot of people have commented that I might have been on drugs. So maybe that might be the case.
All right, so let's move on to the next question. Question 8. Fed rangefinders were built in this city. The options are Kiev, Kharkiv, Krasnogorsk, or Kaliningrad. Yes, I chose all Soviet cities beginning with a K. So it's Kiev, Kharkiv, Krasnogorsk, or Kaliningrad. The correct answer is Kharkiv. 3 people chose Kiev. Kiev rangefinders were built in Kiev, but Fed rangefinders are made in Kharkiv. At the Felix E., I don't know how to pronounce the D, but like Dzerzhinsky, he was the guy who founded the Soviet secret police, which eventually became the KGB. We can assume that the working conditions in that factory probably weren't up to modern OSHA standards. So I seem to have stumped people 2 questions in a row. Let's see if question 9, we can get somebody on the board. Number 9 is, What major new feature was added with the release of the Minolta SRT 101 in 1966? The options are instant return mirror, CDS metering cell, through the lens metering, or shutter priority auto exposure. The T in the SRT stands for through the lens metering, or TTL. The previous SR cameras did not have through the lens meter. One person got that one right, and it is Atabak's. All right, 631. Is that enough to take over a spot? It looks like it is. He's bumped Theo down to 4th place. David O and Anthony are still up there at the top. Question 10. This was the original name of the first Miranda SLR. The options are Mirax, Focabell, Orion, or Comet. Which one of those 4 was the original name for the Miranda SLR? And the whole company, for that matter. If Ira was here, he'd get this one. Yes, 5 people correctly guessed Orion. Uh-oh, wait a minute. Did it say nobody got it right?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
That's what I had.
No, that was the right answer.
Orion as well.
Uh-oh. Okay. We got a bug in the system. It didn't get that one right. It was definitely Orion, though. I don't know what to do about this, but I guess we'll just keep going.
I blame Robot Theo.
Yep. All right. Sorry about that. Let's just keep going. I don't think one question is going to change too much, though.
Oh, that was going to be the springboard.
The name Pentax was first used by this company. Asahi Kogaku, Pentacon, Zeiss Icon, or Petri, who originally used the name Pentax. If you listened to the last episode, you would know this. Let's see if it correctly gets one right. Zeiss, what the hell?
Dude, the nice thing was for the last 2 questions, I listened to the podcast yesterday.
Yeah. All right. Hold on. That's not right.
I think Paul's getting his revenge. He's going to stall us out until he can come roaring back to first place.
No, I can't. When I click an answer, nothing comes up.
Did you put your name in again?
Yeah, I did, but that's okay. While you guys are doing that, I just went and had an ice cream cone. At about number 20, I'm going to go have a beer.
All right.
Mine's just popped up telling me I've got a correct answer, and I'm in 3rd place.
All right, I fixed it. Okay. So the people who guessed Orion were David, Anthony, Theo, Andrew, and Chef Boyardeen. All right. So I fixed it. I'm sorry. I must have done it wrong. The name Pentax was first used by this company. It is Zeiss Icon. 4 people got that right. They were David, Anthony, Atabak, and Mark. So let's see what happens here.
Theo, you're on that episode.
Yes, I know.
Anthony was able to dethrone David O, but only by 43 points. So we got a new leader. All right, Anthony's in first place. Question 12. Nippon Kogaku did not officially change their name to Nikon until this year, 1958, 1968, 1978, or 1988. So what year did they actually stop being Nippon Kogaku? The correct answer is 1988.
Yay!
They held on to that name for quite a while, whereas most of the other companies switched quite earlier than that. Theo got it right. Vengeful. 932 points for Theo. Gets him solidly in 3rd place. But David and Anthony are having a runaway here. All right, next question. The U.S. distributor for Pentax SLRs in the 1960s was this company. Another question that you would know if you listened to the last episode. The choices are Honeywell, Bell & Howell, Allied Impex Corporation, or Ehrenreich Photo. Hoping you all get this right. Honeywell. Bell & Howell did Canon, Allied Impex did Miranda, and Ehrenreich did Nikon, Tessina, a few others. I can't remember everything, but he did a lot of stuff. But Honeywell is correct. Who got it right the fastest?
I think didn't Ehrenreich do Robot?
Probably, yes. So Aiden actually was the fastest on that one, although there was a lot of close ones, but it wasn't enough to change a whole lot. Anthony's still in first place, though, with 6,248. Question 14. If Kodak still used the Camerosity dating code, a lens made in 2022 would have these 2 letters in front of the serial number: MMCA AA, IT, or TY. So if there was a Camerosity lens made this year, what would its code be? AA is correct. Camerosity, for those of you who don't know, isn't just the name of the best, nerdiest open source film photography podcast. It's also a code that Kodak used from roughly 1940 to about 53. Seems like the end of the chevron is around the time when they stopped doing it. But C is 1, A is 2, M is 3, and so on. Y is 0. So 2022 would be AA. Who are the three that got it right? David, Theo, and Anthony. David was fastest, though. Is that enough to move him in front? Nope, not quite. 15. Paul has a rating system from 1 to 8, counting the number of dented corners for this camera. The options are Leica rangefinders, Minox subminis, the Pentax 6.7, or the Raleigh 35. Which of those 4 cameras does Paul have a rating system of 1 to 8, counting the dented corners? It is the Raleigh 35. We've covered that a number of times, I think. And notice there's no option for 0, because I said that if you have a Rollie with no dented corners, all that means is that you're going to dent it. So who was fastest on that one? It was Chef Boyardeen again with the quickest response, or he's got the best ping of anybody's home internet. All right. Good job. 16 of 25. We got 10 more to go. If you have a post-war Zeiss Icon Contax, it was made in this city: Kiev, Stuttgart, Jena, or Dresden. So if it's a Zeiss Icon Contax from after the war, what city was it made in? Is a tough one. 2 people got it right. It's Jena.
I did get it right.
So after the Soviets propagated and basically moved the assembly line and took all the spare parts to Kiev to start making the rangefinders, they did not bring all of the workers. They basically left these guys in Dresden to just fend for themselves. They all got transferred to Jena, who is popular for making lenses. Jena didn't really make any cameras until the Veras, but they got to work on piecing together what they knew of the Contax. So you can get post-war Contax 2. I think they only did the 2s. They might have done the 3s. But it is not true that all German-made Contaxes after the war were from West Germany. There are still some East German ones. They're incredibly rare. From what I understand, there's no way externally to tell the difference between a post-war Jena Contax and a pre-war Dresden Contax. You can tell internally, so it requires someone with a lot of knowledge about Contax rangefinders to truly tell the difference. But if you do have a confirmed one, they're worth quite a pretty penny.
Is this a preview of our upcoming Zeiss Icon Contax?
It is. Yes, it is. We are going to have a all Contax episode with a very special guest. So Anthony and Chef Boyardeen got that right. So that allowed Aiden to move up a couple spots to 4th.
Anthony's taking the lead here.
Anthony's starting to pull away. Yep. And I promise you guys, he has no idea what these questions were ahead of time. Question 17. The successor to Fuji Neopan film is this: Superia, Acros, Natura, or Velvia. So which film came after Neopan? For a short while, it was branded both names. The correct answer is Acros, and everybody got that one right. The other 3 are all color films. That's the Acros is the only black and white one. And who got it fastest? Oh, so many people. Anthony and David are just neck and neck again, man. Those guys are fast. Mark Faulker very, very slightly jumped ahead of Chef Boyardeen for 4th and 5th. Who was that NASCAR race, like towards the end of the season, where the dude was in needed to move up 4 spots and he just floored it into the wall and just flew around everybody? I don't know if anybody's in a NASCAR. No, we're still thinking about the World Cup.
Very American sport.
That was an awesome move.
It was super cool. I could appreciate it, but honestly, I don't really care about NASCAR.
Yeah,
but it was definitely neat. All right, next question. If you have a lens that uses the AR bayonet mount, it is to be used on this brand of camera: Konica, Olympus, Ricoh, or Mamiya. Which one of those 4 uses the AR bayonet? And yes, I know you could digitally adapt it. That's not what the question asks. The AR, which stands for auto reflex, is Konica's 2nd bayonet mount. The original bayonet mount on the Konica FS which is a camera I recently reviewed, is simply called the Konica F-mount, but they released the AR bayonet on the original auto reflex, the 2-word version that can do both full frame and half frame. Anthony, that's one of your favorites, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a great camera.
Very, very
Tried
good
to trade
camera.
one to Paul recently. He wasn't interested.
Not having it, huh? No. All right.
Nope.
His loss. Right. Let's see. Does this change anything? Anthony, David, Theo, and Atabak got it correct. Atabak's moved up 2 spots into 4th place.
And somehow Theo and I tied exactly on answering that one.
Yeah. To the millisecond, they got it right. They got it right. Okay. Question 19. How do you replace the battery on a Polaroid SX70? The answers are: send it back to Polaroid, disassemble the mirror, buy more film, or trick question, they don't use batteries. So how do you replace the battery on a Polaroid SX70? Everybody got that one right. I couldn't fool you. Buy more film. The battery is in the film pack. Probably one of the least wise ecological decisions made by a camera maker. Every time you buy a new film, you're throwing away a battery. All right, let's see who got it fastest. A lot of people. David O. Right. Anthony, when you were doing trivia at Volta, was it the same way where fastest answer gets more points, or was it different?
I wish I would have cleaned everybody's clock if that had been the case. But no.
It was either right or wrong. It doesn't matter for speed, right?
Right.
Got it. All right. Well, you're still doing well here. We could see why Anthony's been chomping at the bit to do some trivia. He's awesome at it. Question 20. Steve Sassen's first digital camera prototype stored its images using this: flash RAM, floppy disk, audio cassette, or punch cards. So when it wrote an image, what did it store it on? Flash RAM, floppy, audio cassette, or punch cards? The correct answer is audio cassette. Flash RAM would probably didn't exist then. I honestly don't know. Floppy disk, I don't think they had that back then either. If they did, it was more reel to reel. It'd be kind of neat to see a digital image stored on punch cards.
They had the 5-inch ones, I think.
Did they? Okay. I couldn't remember when they started those. Leaderboard. Theo got it right. Oh, Anthony did too. Anthony was faster again. Man, you are fast, Anthony. Mark Faulker takes the lead, number 4th. Good job, Mark.
I'm kind of a professional test taker.
Ilford XP2 Super Film is normally developed using this process: C41, E6, HC110E, or ECN2. I'm sure everybody here knows that one of those isn't even a process. It is C41, correct. That is their black and white, but C41. They started doing that, what, Paul, in the 90s when the mini labs were getting popular. Most places just wanted to have one machine for everything, so they invented black and white film that could go through a color processor, right?
Right. They call them chromogenics, and it would have been late 80s.
Late 80s, okay. Wasn't quite sure exactly when, but that's why you see those. And has anybody done the chromogenic black and whites in Black and White Developer? Does it still work?
Yeah, I have done that with like massively expired Kodak, the chromogenic that they had. I was having a really difficult time getting it in C41. It was just a grainy mess. And so I started developing it in semi-stand HC110 and got actually really wonderful images out of it.
Well, I have some XP2 Super graciously donated by Paul, and some Kodak, the 400 CN. I have a couple rolls of that. So I definitely want to try it in some Black and White Developers, see how well it turns out. All right, we're getting down to the end here. Unfortunately, it's not looking like anybody's going to catch up to Anthony. So we need to see who's the winner of our listeners. David Ortega is still doing really well there in solid 2nd place. I'm disappointed Paul couldn't get in here. I don't know why. We did a test and he was working okay. Question 22. The last rolls of Kodachrome were developed by this lab. The options are the Darkroom, Adorama, Dwayne's Photo, or the Film Photography Project. Which of those labs is best known for developing the last roll of Kodachrome? There's a movie about it too.
Do I get any extra points because it takes longer for the comms to come all the way down here to Australia before I can see the question?
So you're saying there's some kind of like internet delay maybe?
Yeah, I'm sure that's making a big difference in my score.
Okay, all right. We'll take that into consideration. We'll maybe find a difficulty multiplier at the end. But all 7 people got that correct. It is Dwayne's photo. They made a big deal out of it. They were the last ones Kodak was going to send the chemicals to. So everybody got that one right. But it did not change the rankings at all. All right. 23 of 25. So we only have 3 more to go. Answer fast to get more points. If you bought a camera with the brand name Tower, it was originally sold by this retailer: Montgomery Ward's, Burke & James, Sears Roebuck & Company, or Central Camera. Who sold Tower cameras?
How am I supposed to know that?
We talked about it last episode.
None of those retailers exist in Australia.
Who made Snyder? No, I'm kidding. The correct answer is Sears Roebuck & Company. They were well known for the Sears Tower. Ironically, they sold Tower cameras before the Sears Tower was made. So I don't even know if that's a correlation at all. However, they did sell Tower cameras from about maybe 54, I think, and on. I don't really know, for a while. And then they stopped using Tower and just sold things as Sears. In fact, one of my favorite logos of any camera is the Sears version of the Ricoh. I think it's the TLS. It's got SR written in like a script that almost looks like an atomic symbol. You guys know what I'm talking about? There's a Sears Roebuck camera, really, really nice, just super cool logo, because it's clearly SR, but they are very clever and made it look like an atom. But that's not what this is about here. So, right, Anthony's still fast. Yeah, Theo, you do get like a delay, so we'll give you maybe an extra 1,000 points. How about that? You're still in third place. All right, and select answer. Boy, I screwed up again. Man. Option 1, option 2, or option 3? I can't blame Menti on this one. I can tell I screwed this one up too. Let's see. Were any of them right? None of them are right. Okay. Well, nobody. Here, no. Tell you what. I will. No, never mind. I could make them all right, but we'll just go on. All right. Last question. Let's see if this is a real one. You could tell I didn't quite have a chance to test this beforehand. Last question is: what is the best open source film photography podcast in the world? Your options are Camerosity, or Camerosity. The counter's still going, which tells me that not everybody is chosen. 3.
They're trying to choose the best color.
The best color, yeah. And the correct answer is all of them. You got them all right. So now that we have all of the final answers, we look at who got it fastest. Everybody was over 900 that time, so it was a very easy answer for everybody. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough to dethrone Anthony with 664 points.
Call me Clippy.
Call him Clippy. Yep, I got distracted there by the 3 6s in the middle. But David Ortega is our winner of our listeners with 15,381 points. Theo came in third with 13,725. Atabak was fourth. Mark fifth. Chef Boyardeen was sixth, and Andrew was.
I was a little slow. I missed a couple of the questions. That's going to be my excuse.
Well, it's because of your internet, right, and your mouse.
I don't even have a mouse. I was using the trackpad.
Now, I know counting votes is a bit of a problem in the US,
Yeah,
but I'm going to throw something in there for you.
Okay.
The episode where every single member appeared, I have to cast your mind back to an episode where Robot Theo appeared, but Theo did not appear.
I thought of that, and I knew somebody might question me. But there is a debate. Is Robot Theo and Theo really the same person?
That's something you'll never know. It depends
that is something we don't know. And
if the glasses are on or not.
The question, one of the choices was simply Theo, so yeah, I didn't specify which Theo. But no, that's a good
Superman.
Yeah, exactly.
Glasses.
No, that's a good one. We've all missed one. I was not on that one. I've always said to the guys that if there's ever a time where I can't make it, it would be interesting to hear what you guys do without me entirely. I'm kind of scared to hear, but that
episode 31.
31. I meant a full episode though, so. All right.
I was kind of wondering if there was going to be a Robot Theo question in there, like, is he real or not? Or like, where does he come from?
My favorite question was select the response. I don't know how that happened. No, Menti's a pretty cool program. That's why I was pushing for it to work this way, because it reasonably works for most people on any device. We use this at my work a lot, and there's a lot of other things you can do with it too. A lot of collaboration and breakouts. It's mainly like an online PowerPoint kind of company, but it has this trivia game in it, which I think is kind of fun. But you gotta manually type in all the questions. So if you guys had fun, maybe we could do this again. I don't know. Did you guys think the questions were too hard? Were they too easy?
No, I think it was just right. I would not have changed a thing.
Yeah. All right.
Except for the two that I got wrong.
Which do you remember which ones you got wrong?
I don't. Oh, the original name of canon.
Okay. Yeah. Seiki Gogaku. Yeah. All right. This is our last episode of the year. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, that's coming up. If you don't celebrate Christmas or something else, happy holidays to you. New Year's is coming up. Does anybody have any trips planned or anything exciting they're going to do?
Heading to Boston. That's about it.
Heading to Boston?
Yeah.
Anything you're going to bring some cameras with?
I am. I haven't decided what yet. Do something to work in cold weather, though.
Well, I will give you a tip. Do not bring 12 of them.
Fair point.
Definitely do not bring 12. I'm to a point where, honestly, I try to limit myself to 3. You know, it's too hard to do more than that. You end up either one of two things happens when you bring too many. You either just completely skip one, or it ends up ruining your like ability to use the others like meaningfully. You know, you end up like juggling cameras. I actually dropped a camera once before. It was an old Bantam, so thankfully it wasn't anything super valuable. But I just kind of learned my lesson that to try and juggle too many cameras, especially if you're going by yourself, that's a little bit more doable. But if you're, you have a family or you're going with other people, to have a huge bag full of cameras is as much as you want to tell yourself you're going to get through them all, you probably won't, and you'll just get frustrated.
My suggestion too is, even if you have just 3, and I do follow that, but even that's a bit heavy, don't take all 3 out when you go out and about during the day. Mm-hmm. Just pick one at the start of the day and stick to that one. So you can rotate through the day, different days, but don't carry too many. To Mike's point, you'll end up dropping something, or you'll sit there. Oh, I'll take that picture. Oh, I might look better if I use this other camera, and then you end up taking the same picture over and over again. Yeah.
No, I typically take 3, because I do one that's tested and trusted, one that is tested I haven't used much before, and then one that's completely untested, just for the fun of it.
Living on the edge.
No, that is a good point too. At least have one that you can trust. Because you just never know. In fact, I was telling the guys this. I developed 4 rolls of film, black and white. So something that I've done hundreds of times. HC 110. Well, I unfortunately, we talk about how long of a shelf life HC 110 has, but unfortunately, the last time I used my bottle, I forgot to put the cap on. So it sat out on my shelf with the cap off for a couple weeks. And it was already turning that kind of dark caramel color that were common with HC 110, but it turned like almost a black, like used motor oil color. But I just thought, it can handle anything. So I developed 4 rolls of film with it, and nothing. I got extremely faint images on 2 of them. But I tried scanning them, and Anthony, you said you've been able to salvage some very thin things, and I was able to get an image out of them, but they're just so low that they're just not worth looking at. They were supposed to be for a review of a camera. So unfortunately I lost 4 rolls of film. And even worse, 2 of those rolls were on cameras that were loaners that I had already sent back to its owner. So I won't be able to reshoot those. But speaking of traveling, you got to eliminate as many variables as possible. Because I went to visit you, Mark, last summer. I met you and Adam Paul in person. We went to Gettysburg. I went to Washington, D.C. I went to New York City. And I screwed up developing on a couple of those rolls too. So even when you try to minimize variables, you bring cameras you depend on, you could still screw them up somehow in developing. So I always say eliminate variables. Or minimize, I should say. You can't eliminate them, but minimize them.
Well, I found out that I'm going to be heading up to Montreal in the first week of April, where the average temperature will be maybe 12 degrees. So the last time I went, going by Alex's suggestion, I took my Nikon FM2, which works. It's super robust and has been reliable. When I'm literally working with gloves on, trying to shoot. So I'm not sure what I'll take. Maybe I'll take the MX or maybe the Contax S2 to something that's like a fully mechanical, fully, as simple as possible. I don't even want autofocus when it's that cold. The fewer moving parts, the better.
I don't have any proof of this, but I would probably stay away from anything with a leaf shutter. Yeah. I don't know if that's Paul, back in the heyday, was there like Hasselblad leaf shutter cameras? Was there a belief to keep them out of the cold, or if properly serviced, should a leaf shutter and a focal plane be just as reliable?
Yeah, it really should be. There really shouldn't be any difference in them. The big deal was in cold temperature. The big deal was actually film breaking.
Okay,
because the film would get brittle.
It's brittle, yeah.
When they first came out with high-speed motor drives, a lot of guys, when you get down to below zero temperatures, the motor drive would either snap the film or it would create static buildup. So you'd wind up with static. Yeah, the cold would create the static on the film.
What would you take up to the Great White North?
I would probably take a rangefinder.
Oh,
just because there'd be less chance of a missed failure.
Okay.
That would just be me.
I'll be traveling to totally different type of place in the new year, to Vietnam. And my youngest son's coming with me. And one of the things that we've sort of agreed on, because he wants to shoot a bit of film, is I'm probably going to take my Nikon FE. I've been testing it out and it works quite nice, and I'm quite happy with the results. And of course the Nikon glass. And he will use the FM2N, which is a very well tested camera I've got. So that way we're sort of doubling up a little bit. And if we have a bit of failure, we've got two Nikons to play with.
That's cool. Vietnam, wow, that's going to be exciting. That's pretty warm there though, right? Tropical? That's going to be pretty hot.
It is, depending on which part of the year you go in.
Yeah.
But yes, it is, and that's exactly what we're after. Sun, humidity, beach, and photography.
One of the questions in the trivia about which one isn't a Leica copy, the Cardin is one that I've previously reviewed. And one of the goals, so the Cardin, Peter Cardin made this camera because Lights of New York couldn't do it. Like they wanted a camera to Leica specifications, made in America, and only Peter Cardin was willing to attempt it. But so they made a civilian version of that camera and a military version of the camera. And one of the differences with the military, in addition to the larger knobs and such, but that it was designed in a way that whatever lubricants they used would withstand much colder temperatures. So there is a story where they built these cameras and stuck them in a freezing chamber for 7 hours at negative 67 degrees. It does not specify Fahrenheit or Celsius, but regardless of the scale, negative 67 is still very cold. And the camera still worked flawlessly at that temperature. So I don't know that I would recommend shooting anything at negative 67 degrees, but that seems to be the bottom temperature that any camera reliably could go. Of course, who was the guy who climbed Mount Everest, who took a Retina up there?
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name.
It wasn't Hillary, but it was one of the later guys.
Yeah, it wasn't the 117. I think it was the 118. Kodak Retina went up to Mount Everest, but I don't think it gets negative 67 up there though.
Well, didn't they make a version of the Kodak Signet 35 for the Korean War?
Yes.
It was like designed for like use with gloves.
Well, the whole camera was. That's why the knobs are so big. They made the olive drab version. Dan Houseman would know better than I would. I don't actually think there's anything internally different on the olive drab versions of that than compared to the consumer ones.
Maybe I should take my Kodak 35.
They did it with the Kodak 35 too. There's a Kodak 35, the original one, and the Signet were both made in black and olive drab, made specifically for the Signal Core. And if you find one of those today, they're worth quite a bit more than the regular ones. But I don't think they did anything different on those. But yeah, the Signet has the larger knobs, the fairly large shutter release, so it's very comfortable to use with gloves. I really like the Signet 35.
Yeah, I do too.
Somebody once asked, like, what's an underappreciated rangefinder, and that one usually comes up for me because it's got a great lens. It's attractive. It's good looking. It's easy to use, easy to fix. You know, if you ever get one of those and the rangefinder's dirty, you literally take the two screws off that go through the middle of the knobs, and the entire top plate just comes right off. There might be 2 more under the knobs, but whatever it is, it's just regular screws. Pull them off. The top plate comes off. You can see everything in there. You can clean it really nice. Just put it back together. The shutter only has 4 speeds, which some people complain about, but for most people, you don't need anything more than 1/25th through 1/200th. I mean, yeah, if you want to shoot fast speed outside and get bokeh, it's not going to work for you. But for just general purpose photography, go out and shoot some pictures of landscapes or whatever. It's a great camera. Plus, it's got that triangle rangefinder patch. I think is kind of cool.
It might be the nerdiest film photography podcast.
We're trying to get up there. We want to win that title. Take that, Alex. Although Alex probably wouldn't use motor oil colored HC-110, he probably would have been smart enough to throw that away or not leave the cap off.
He knows his way around developing. On a slightly different track, a couple of new purchases recently. So I thought I'd pull a couple of in. I went to the Sydney Camera Show, first one in 3 years the other weekend. And picked up a few. And and I know, Mike, you've been wanting one of those. So I seem to be doing it to all the hosts here. Yeah, Anthony with the Superb, and now Mike with the Ensign Commando.
Nice.
So
that thing is pretty.
Theo goes Commando.
Yes. What I love about this is it's got the 6x4.5 frame built into it, and not only that, it's even the actual viewfinder gets adjusted for the 6x4.5 frame by just this little lever. But it's a really nicely made camera. I'm surprised because normally
it looks
the
heavy
stuff. Yeah.
Is it heavy?
It is.
Yeah.
Not quite non-folder heavy, but it's for a folder. It's actually quite a significant piece. I'm just really impressed in the build quality of it. Considering Ensign isn't really known for those type of cameras. With the name Commando, I'm just going to have to wonder if they're aiming for the military and then missed the war completely. So because they came in right at the end of the war.
So that's natively a 6x6 camera, but you said it can do 4.5x6.
Yeah, all you do is there's some plates at the back here, little flaps, similar to the Mamiya 6. So you just bring the flaps over. I've got a spindle in there, so I can't do it right now. But yeah, you just bring the flaps over. And
that's cool.
There it is. I'll do this one.
That's way better than having to find and hold on to a mask that almost always gets lost.
Yeah. And
hint, David Ortega, Zeiss Icon 645 mask, maybe one of these days.
but the other thing is it's got a counter on top, so you can use the windows at the back. It's got 12 and 16 frame little red window at the back, but it's got this little lever right next to the shutter release where you flick it over and the counter will automatically
oh wow,
to 6x4.5.
That's got to be a frequent fail point on that camera. But does it work?
This works. They told me it had just been serviced. I need to go talk to these guys because it when I do cock the shutter, it won't stay. That's what seems to be wrong with it. So I've got to go and figure out what's going on with there.
Does it have a top plate shutter release?
Yes, it does.
So if you look, there's a linkage that's connecting from the top plate down where the shutter is.
Yeah.
There's probably a shutter release like on the leaf shutter.
Is it loose? Stuck or something. Yeah. Either that or it just won't hold the cocking mechanism in the lens. So I'll have to figure that out.
Yeah. If before you send it back, just make sure that the actual I've never seen a Commando, so I'm just guessing what it looks like, but I've seen other ones where there's a linkage that actually pushes on the shutter release that's in the leaf shutter. And sometimes if that doesn't back out all the way, it's full travel, sometimes you can't cock it because it thinks it's partially engaged.
Yeah.
That might be an easy fix. But yeah, if it's anything more than that, I definitely talk to them about it and see if they just need to take another look at it or something.
I'd be pretty keen if it does need some work to possibly get Jess to work on it. So get a bit of a partial refund and get Jess to work on it.
That's a cool camera.
Yeah. No, and I picked up a couple of other things there as well. A Schneider Telezena 180 5.5. I've tried it out. It confused me a little bit. It's a M42 mount, and it confused me because there's some misinformation online about it on what it actually fits on. But it does actually fit onto a M42 normal 35mm camera, and I've tried it out. It's okay. 5.5 is not going to give you great bokeh, but then of course, Mike, I got one of your favorite cameras here.
Oh, the Canon Futura. It looks like a pop can. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, one of those. They're so funny.
They are. The flash being in the actual lens hood is superb. So yes, apparently this one's working. The guy that actually was selling, he's got 3 of them. He loves them. So
really,
and he said he was selling this one because the slight little catch for the flash is a little bit broken, but works just fine anyway. But yeah, he's a big fan of them, which is a bit weird. But I've actually been quite lucky lately. I've got a colleague at work gave me one of the sleeper compacts. I don't know if you've seen these before. The Ricoh FF3s. They're a nice little compact.
Yeah, I've never seen one of those.
Yeah, apparently they're quite well regarded, so I'm quite keen to give it a try. But I guess one of my highlights, my most recent highlight though, is this morning, just before the show, my Robot 2 arrived. So I'm really keen to give that a try.
Theo, I told you, Theo and Robot Theo are really the same person. That's too funny.
Yeah. So it's been quite good. I even got gifted a Isomat, Agfa Isomat from Jess as well. So I'm really from going from not buying anything for a while to suddenly influx of the cameras. It's a bit funny how it works out.
I have a review of the Isomat that uses rapid film, but it shoots square images. So it's hardly a robot, but if you wanted to do a square format 35mm shoot off between the robot and the Isomat, that could be fun. Yeah, they're pretty neat.
Yeah, this came in the whole kit.
Oh wow,
the camera.
That's neat.
Flash.
I've never seen the kit before.
Yeah, and even comes in with an actual Voigtlander flash.
Oh wow!
So I bet that's something Anthony hasn't
neat.
got.
No, that's kind of cool. Is it still connected to the PC port or is it a hot shoe?
It's a hot shoe flash.
Wow.
So and yeah, it came with that and a couple of cartridges.
Yeah, you got your Agfa.
Yeah, and a whole box of Sylvania
bulbs.
So
very cool.
It's a whole full pack. Yeah. So thank you, Jess.
I hope you didn't pay too much for the Isomat, but that is a cool kit.
No, Jess gave it to me.
Oh wow, even better. So, yeah, I've never seen it in the kit before. That's really neat.
Yeah,
give it a shot. Load it up. We were talking before the show began, but when you reload Agfa cassettes, the rapid cassettes, you got to be careful not to shove too much film in there. You know, you want to. It would be better to do less than too much because it'll bind if you put too much in there. So they're pretty good. You know, you get square images out of them. You should easily be able to get 12 to 16 nice images from it. And I think it's a meniscus lens, but they perform pretty decently. Plus, you know, who doesn't like square format?
Yeah, exactly. So I've gone from having no square format to 2 square format 35mm cameras. So
very cool. So you had mentioned the Futura is something I was joking around about. We talked about that in a recent episode. In the show notes for episode 37, the Camerosity World Cup, I alluded to this same episode caused me to have my own gas of something I picked up almost right after we recorded. And I never came back to tell anybody what it was, but we were talking to Alan Duncan and he had mentioned the Olympus, the Super Zoom IS series, the SLRs, the IS 1, 2, 3, the 100, 200, there were a bunch of them. And I just, for some reason, just got enamored by them. And coincidentally, the big brother Google guys must have been listening in and one popped up on my radar for very, very cheap. So I ended up picking up an Olympus IS2. I actually don't have it in front of me because it's in the car. I have film in it, but it's very neat. Fixed lens, zoom lens. It's like an SLR, but I mean, you see through the lens composition, a lot of shooting modes. From everything I've read, the images those things make are really, really nice. So I'm looking forward to finishing a roll on it. I succumb to my own gas on this show too sometimes.
Yeah, I think I've got the 1000 and they're very interesting cameras to play around with.
Yeah. What's weird about loading film in them though, the film goes from right to left, but then the take up spool is like backwards. Like it doesn't roll into the film compartment. It rolls like into the door. It's really weird. I don't know if that caused reliability problems or not, but strange design choices they made, I guess.
I recently picked this up. I like a 1G
Very nice.
off Facebook. Yeah, it's kind of hard
That's
to see
the no viewfinder version.
Right. Yeah, that's been catering to my gas. But that's about it.
So what lenses are you gonna mount on there?
Well, right now I just ordered a new leatherette for it, but I have the Canon 15mm Serenar or
Okay.
however you say it. I'm probably gonna end up selling this one, but because I like to have a viewfinder, but I'm sure I'll shoot a roll through it before I send it off.
Was that an estate sale find?
Facebook Marketplace.
Okay, very cool.
Atabak's at home now. What did you have your 3 cameras?
Yeah. So I just picked up Yashica T4 from Goodwill for $10, less than
Nice.
$10.
Oh, nice.
It's crazy that I cannot believe I just rolled the film and shooting with it. But for the 3 camera that I most used last year is XA was my go-to because it was a small throw in my
All right.
bag. This camera, Rebel T7 with a 40mm weight compact for, hiking or something. It's not my favorite, but very nice. Very compact for what it does. It's very advanced. I think it's one of the latest Canon film cameras.
What lens? You said the 40mm. What brand lens is that?
40mm pancake lens. So it's basically the compact camera.
But it's a Canon lens though?
Yeah, it's Canon.
Okay.
40mm 2.8. It's
Those are really nice.
That's a very rare lens, actually.
Yeah, it's a great combo for travel or hiking. It does a very good job. And I want to talk about this camera. Maybe only 2 copy of this in the world. I posted in the podcast Facebook group. It's a panoramic camera made by Minolta XC7 and Fuji 645 lens.
Yeah.
Designed by a friend of mine, Doi Khrushchev. Shout out to him.
Wow. Okay, so I have to explain this. He's holding what looks to be a fairly normal, well, not too normal, but it's an XE7 black SLR. You can tell there's something different because the pentaprism's been removed.
Yes.
He's got a panoramic clip-on viewfinder above it, right?
Yeah.
And then he opened the film door. So show us the film door again.
Sure.
You have the chrome film rails, which would normally be there on an XE7, but basically everything in between the film rails is open into the film gate. Yeah. So I can't tell, is that camera wider than normal or is it still the same width?
No, it's basically the same size as Expand Hasselblad Expand size.
24 by 56 or something like that.
Same, exactly the same. I have to.
The body of the camera, though, is it wider than a normal?
No, it's a normal XC7.
Wow.
He chose this camera because the body is have enough space inside to do this. Some, Nikons can do, but the lens is from Fuji GS645 wide camera. Right. It has shutter built inside, everything. Very nice.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. There's no focal plane shutter.
That's a great lens.
It's 40mm, basically like 20, 21, and 35. So pretty wide and great camera. I shoot once and came up great because the focus throw is pretty close. So basically, if you shoot at 8, everything is in focus. Pretty nice.
So the lens does not come off. It's permanently attached, right?
Yeah, it's attached to the 3. This part is 3D printed. He designed it and sent it me the files, and I printed and then assembled. I have to take everything inside the body, so you don't have shutter. All the system is out and mounted this 3D printed part with the lens in it. And
so really the XE7 has basically been turned into just a light type box that moves film.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas all the magic's happening in the shutter. So you have to manually cock and fire the shutter, or does the top plate?
No, it's 2 times. Basically, is the one. But the tricky part is you have to remind if you already rewind it or not. So after each shot, I rewind. So don't overlap or don't over rewind the shot.
So how do you fire the shutter? It's off the lens.
Yeah, it's on the lens. So basically, you have this here like a.
I see it. He's got a little lever on the side, like you would expect to see on a leaf shutter.
That's how you cock it, and that's your cock it, and then you press the little.
It's basically like a large format lenses. It has built-in shutter and shutter speeds. Everything is built-in shutter. So
what I really like about that is you get the benefits of like the X-Pan. Yeah. And while yours is even rarer than the X-Pan, I guess.
It's much cheaper.
But it feels like, or it seems like that should last you quite a while. Whereas the X-Pans are already starting to show signs of being from that electronic era where they're starting to die.
Exactly.
I know that if you have an X-Pan that breaks, I don't know that there's anybody that'll touch them, but yours there, I mean, granted it's custom, but that's a pretty proven lens and shutter.
Yeah.
I would think very little could go wrong with it. And then because the body's not doing a whole lot, that's a pretty robust design there that should last you quite a while. That is really cool.
How does it handle color film? Does it need the spot filter?
I haven't shot color yet. I only shot black and white and turned out pretty nice, sharp. But next thing is to try probably Kodak Portra with it to see.
Be interested to see that, because I know the X-Pan for color you normally need to have the spot filter, the graduated spot filter.
I didn't know that. Yeah. I'll try to see what.
You did it with the 30 millimeter. The 45 not quite as important on the X-Pan. But the 30, right. you definitely got to have it with the 30.
This one is 45.
How many of those cameras has your friend made?
So he made for himself. I saw him on a homemade camera podcast. Explained it, and I sent him a message that I'm very interested and want to make one of these. Can you help me? And he was a very nice guy and sent me the files, and I 3D printed myself. Just this.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize you had made that yourself. Okay.
Yeah, I mean everything designed by himself, and I just got the files and disassembled the camera. Took shutter system, everything in the body out, and mounted the cone and the lens on it. And important thing is to calibrate the focus, the infinity focus, and it's not a very complicated thing. So
that is really cool. So you said you post that in the group? I must have missed that.
Yeah, I saw it.
It was after the Minolta podcast. Okay. Because it was Minolta, my favorite Minolta body.
Send us a couple of pictures for the show note.
Yeah, sure.
That's really neat.
If you've got a black and white or any kind of picture that you shot with that you could send too.
Yeah.
Be very cool.
Awesome.
Definitely.
All right.
It's my one of the other Minolta favorite Minolta is the rangefinder High-Matic 7S2. It's pretty great camera. It's a nice 40 millimeter lens, compact, much better than Canon and other competitive. I mean, similar lenses. The lens is great on it.
Right. Well, we are coming up on the 2-hour mark. The trivia took up a good section there. We had a nice discussion at the beginning, but does anybody have any last minute things they want to share or questions for us you'd like to ask? This is our last episode of the year. Not that means anything, but I haven't really got anything new. I mentioned earlier the Fujix, Nikon early DSLR is really the only thing that's shown up here. Just trying to kind of get things in order, get things ready for next year, what kind of reviews I want to do. Hopefully I have some exciting things planned. In terms of the show, we'll be back in, I guess, 2 weeks, right, guys? Have we decided are we going to do this January 2nd, or should we go out 3 weeks? Let's make the decision here and now.
2 weeks is fine for me. I don't know if anyone else is.
I'm okay with it.
All right. Well, then we'll be back at our regular Camerosity time on the Camerosity channel. We say this, or I say it at the end of every episode, that the show depends on callers. We love hearing from you guys. One thing I have heard a few people who have said, "Oh, I'd love to come, but I'm not an expert." I don't know what I would say. And I don't want anybody to feel like you have to be the biggest nerd like we are to join. In fact, we love new callers. Atabak showed us his awesome Minolta panoramic. I think back to when Nafis Azad showed up, and in the last few seconds of an episode, Theo's like, "What's that camera behind you?" And that was the Polaroid 20x24. We love first-time callers, even if you're new, even if you don't feel like you know the level of knowledge that we have. We started somewhere too before, and sometimes the questions that a new person asks can spawn conversations that we wouldn't otherwise do. So if you're interested and you like the show and you want to join us, please do not think that you need to have a certain level of knowledge. No one's going to make fun of you. We value all listeners and all questions of any kind, even if it's something that's easy. I mean, in fact, I'd love to do a beginner's episode one day too, if we could find enough people new to film photography to join us and just, ask questions that maybe we take for granted. We say a lot of things that I make an effort to try and explain, but sometimes you forget, So what a great year we've had. We've had some great episodes, some great hosts, some great questions.
If you're a beginner and you've been shooting for about a year or less, write into us so that way we know you're there. Maybe we can sort of coordinate a beginner's episode.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great idea. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Festivus. Happy New Year. If you don't support any of those, that's cool too. Enjoy the next couple of weeks here. Paul, you're probably going to get it after me, but there's supposed to be a big snowstorm coming apparently. So
yeah, that's what I hear.
Maybe you'll get it too, but we should be snowed in pretty soon here. Right now, it's just cold outside, but really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Paul, Theo, Anthony. You guys, I couldn't do this without you. Everybody else who called in, Atabak, Andrew, Mark Faulker, David Ortega, all the people who've called in from previous episodes. Thank you guys. We will circle back though on that challenge from the Negative Positive Podcast, because we will rightfully claim our throne as the nerdiest film photography podcast. Or should we just say the nerdiest photography podcast, because we do talk about digicams.
And don't give up on our Pentax Part 2. That'll be coming in the new year.
Yeah, we're going to do that. Yeah.
Hopefully Zeiss Icon Contact Show and a few others that we have been trying to formulate in the background. We should have some really great shows coming up next year.
All right, you guys, thank you so much. Have a good
Happy
night.
New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Happy New Year.
I don't know what happened to me on the Medi. I did a username, but it must not have taken it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Honestly, I mean, I knew the answer. I would have kicked Anthony's ass, to tell you the truth.
I'm sure you would have.
There would have been no daylight for Anthony to find. I mean, I just had it. I know that I had it.
I'm sure you did. I'm willing to concede right now.
No, guys. I would have been both of you. It's the lag.
The lag, yeah.
To Australia.
Lag
yeah.
Australia.
Yeah.